more about their careers and path during the panel session. But our first recipient is Elizabeth Bainey. Libby, will you please join me at the podium, but no closer than 6 feet or whatever. Libby is a 2007 graduate of law school and is a partner at Fagerty, Drinker, Biddle, Reith in Washington, D.C., where she spent her entire legal career. As partner, Libby focuses on issues relating to digital health, including internet pharmacies and pharmacy compliance, telemedicine, drug price transparency, and more. She also serves as a senior advisor representing Alliance for Safe Online Pharmacies, a globally active nonprofit that helps shape public policy to combat online drug sellers. A prolific speaker and writer, Libby is a frequent contributor to strategic workshops, conferences, and publications as wide-ranging as the LA Times to USA Today. Anyone who knows Libby knows is that she possesses unlimited enthusiasm for and devotion to the law school. Is that IU Red that you're? Yes, yes. She was selected to the Alumni Board relatively quickly after graduation, and for the past 12 years, she has diligently served on the board, completing all levels of leadership, including as past president. Libby possesses unlimited enthusiasm for and devotion to the law school and is always available to talk and mentor students. She's been invaluable to our Career Services Office in DC, often hosting information sessions and student gathering during fall and spring breaks. Libby, thank you for your commitment to the school, to our students, and for your outstanding leadership over a decade on the Alumni Board. I'm honored to recognize you today with the Distinguished Service Award. And I'm not, whatever the protocol is. And we have a small gift, and we also have a thing that I've been told not to touch it because I'm likely to. And so we'll get it later on, and then congratulations on the Distinguished Service. And Libby, if you'd like, you're permitted to make remarks. I'm told no more than 3 minutes, but.
Okay,
absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Austin. And for the students here, thanks for being here, although I know it's required. It is good to see you. I've been sitting through a number of these over the 12 years serving on the Alumni Board, and it's a real honor to be here in this position today. Around colleagues, Judge, Leah, Marisol, thank you for being here too. I've admired your service, of course. I would prefer to be in Turks and Caicos, but I'm not as smart as she is, so thank you for being here too. I do want to just reiterate the importance of service to the school, and we'll talk about this on the panel. I wouldn't be here but for the people that came before me, and I look forward to telling you about them because their story really is paved the way for my own. And thanks so much.
Thanks, Libby. Our next honoree is Shakiba Bose, who's joining us remotely from out of the country. Great, perfect. I keep looking the wrong way, so there you are. Shakiba is a 2004 graduate who's a founding member of the Bose Law Firm and DDLF Healthcare Compliance Consulting Group, offering legal and consulting compliance consulting services to healthcare providers and health service organizations in Columbus, Ohio. Prior to starting her own firm in 2013, Shakiba worked for the Ohio's Attorney General's Office of Health and Human Services Division as an attorney and for CareSource Management Group as an associate. Her devotion to the law school and its students has been exceptional. She's been a member of the Balsa Alumni Advisory Board since 2007. In 2012, she served as president of the board and has been one of its most engaged leaders since the board was founded in 2004. She has been a mentor to countless students in Mauer, frequently traveling from her home in Columbus to hold student sessions focused on how to get on journal, be successful in moot court, and how to pass the bar exam. This past year, she also joined us as part of our adjunct faculty, teaching an absolutely fabulous healthcare law course during the school's winter session program. Shakiba, thank you for your exceptional contributions and service to the law school and to our students. It's an honor to present you with the Mauer School of Law Distinguished Service Award. And we also, I think I'm doing the right place. We've got this for you, and we've got an award, which we will send to you once you're back in Ohio.
Okay.
Shakiba, I think we should be able to hear you, and with luck, so the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you all so much. I'm extremely honored and humbled to receive the Distinguished Service Award. I often feel that I haven't done enough, but I am sincerely grateful to be recognized for that which I have done. As for you 1Ls out there, I just want to say that In this day and time, our country and our world is more divided than ever for one reason or another. So I simply encourage you to step out of your comfort zones to serve a cause or a community different than yours. Not only would it benefit those in need of your service, but provide the opportunity for you to see things through a different lens. So that's what I impart on you today. And again, thank you everyone for such an honor, and my fellow awardees. And thank you for setting this up so that I could attend. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person, but thank you.
Sakiba, thank you for attending. And if you have an opportunity to take Professor DuBose's course, you should do so. I would highly recommend it. Thanks for joining us. I next like to invite Judge Rodriguez to join me at the podium within 6 weeks. Judge Rodriguez is a 1980 graduate, and he's a judge for the 11th Judicial Court Civil Division in Miami-Dade County, Florida. He was first appointed to the Circuit Court in 2000 by former Governor Jed Bush, and then was later reelected in the post in 2014. Prior to his appointment on the bench, Judge Rodriguez sat as a judge for Miami-Dade County Court after receiving an appointment to the position by the former governor in 1994. He has long been an adjunct faculty member for the law school, teaching courtroom procedures and other courses in the winter session. And he's also an adjunct faculty member at Florida International University School of Law. For the past 15 years, Judge Rodriguez has provided extraordinary support and mentorship to IU students, taking many students as externs in his chambers. In 2018, he and fellow Miami alum Luis Navarro established the Judge Jose Rodriguez Law Scholars Program that creates a summer position for qualified students interested in practicing law in Miami. Judge Rodriguez has served as a member of the Latino Alumni Advisory Board since 2013, currently serving as the board president, and he joined the Alumni Board too in 2018. Judge Rodriguez is always looking for excuses to come to Bloomington. Not only that, he just yesterday swore in one of our graduates into the Miami bar while here in the law school. Judge Rodriguez, thank you for your timeless commitment to the school and to our students and for your outstanding service. I'm honored to recognize you today with one of our Distinguished Service Awards. Let me give you the chocolates. We'll give you that once you're packaged up, and the microphone's all yours.
Who wrote that? Is that all true? I'm not sure. I want to thank you, Dean, and the law school for this honor. I didn't expect it. I usually don't expect any honors. I just do what I need to do. And Lisa told me I was going to get emotional. She's right. I tend to get emotional. I'm a very sensitive man, even though I put you in jail for the rest of your life, but I was still so sensitive. I want to thank also you for being here, although like my colleague said, you have to be here. But I want to thank my fellow recipients for being here as well. And I just want to shout out to Marisol, which I miss a lot. So I'm glad she's here. But I want to give a special thanks to my partner, Luis Navarro in Miami. I told him I would accept this also for him, because he does a lot of work in that program that we host. And I want to see how many of my interns are here. And if you're here, please stand. There you go. Thank you very much for being here. And again, I expect to see you in my classroom and in my internship soon.
Thank you, Judge. We had no choice. He was going to throw me in jail if I didn't give him the award. So, just like with Professor DuBose, if you get the opportunity to take courtroom procedures in the intersession, and I think also probably a fall class from Judge Rodriguez, you really should do that. It's really a great opportunity to see what's actually happening in the courtroom and get great guidance. Last, I'd like to, but not least, I'd like to invite Leah Siegel to the podium. Leah is our recipient of our Young Alumni Distinguished Service Award. This award is given each year to alum who's distinguished themselves earlier on in the career, and Leah has certainly done that. She's a 2014 graduate. Last January, Leah joined the Lilly Endowment as Program Director for Community Development. Prior to that, she was an associate attorney at Barnes & Thornburg. since 2012, where she was a litigator focused on appellate and intellectual property law. Before that, she clerked for the Honorable Mark Massa of the Indiana Supreme Court. Leah earned her master's degree in elementary education at Arizona State while teaching kindergarten near Phoenix with Teach for America. In 2019, she was recognized with the Up and Coming Leadership Award in Law Award by the Indiana Lawyer. Leah has extensive experience serving on the boards of nonprofit organizations, including the Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Happy Hollow Children's Camp. Leah has been a tremendous resource for the law school. She is one of the go-to people for our career services office, and she's a founding member of our Young Alumni Steering Committee. Leah set a great example for how to manage a sophisticated practice with community service and service to the law school. Leah, it's my pleasure to recognize you with your outstanding dedication to the community and to the law school by presenting you with the Distinguished Service Award. Congratulations.
I'm really honored to be here today and share the moment with these impressive individuals as well. So thank you. I'd also like to specifically thank the law school for recognizing and celebrating the value of service. I think a lot of us enter the profession with the sincere goal of making the world better. So to you students, I want to assure you that you've come to the right place, whether you go into private practice or government work, nonprofit sector, or something wholly different. The education that you're fortunate enough to get here will equip you to improve your community and probably more so than we even realize. I also know that particularly early in your career, it can be daunting to figure out how service fits in with the other demands of being a practitioner. And so I'm grateful to the law school for lifting that up and providing a platform for us to talk about that and service in its many forms. So I look forward to that discussion. Just proud to be a graduate of an institution with alumni and faculty and staff and students that see giving back as an integral part to being a lawyer. And then if I may, I would like to give a couple public thank yous that don't get said nearly enough. To have a fulfilling career and to be engaged in meaningful activities outside of that as well, it takes a really strong support system. So I met a lot of really amazing people here at Mauer, but most so my husband. So I want to thank Jay for being the partner and the dad that he is, and also a great example of commitment to the school and to the community. And then we owe a debt of gratitude to our parents. So my mom and dad and in-laws who go to great lengths to support us, and likewise are excellent examples of giving back in a life of service. So thank you.
Well, Libby, Shakiba, Judge, and Leah, we are honored by your presence, and congratulations. Thanks for all you do. One of the great things of being dean of this school is the alumni, right? We have almost 1,000 come back in different ways each year, and to be able to honor you is a real privilege. Maybe we get one more round of applause for all our alumni. So now I ask that all our recipients join us up on the top bench, and we'll begin our panel presentation. Shakiba, you just stay right there. I think we're good.
Shakiba, I'm moving this mic so you'll be able to hear the panelists. You'll hear Austin a little bit less well.
Okay.
This microphone is only for Shakiba and the people on the webinar. Those microphones are for the.
So we're going to start off with just sort of a general question. You're being recognized for your distinguished service, how you've given back to your communities in different ways, whether that's the law school, the state, to the local communities, to the nation. Leah, you sort of ended with this, which is a great way into this, but can you describe how your service has been an important part of your professional career, how you've integrated the two together, and how it's helped you by doing service in your communities, how it's helped in your professional success? And Libby, maybe I start with you on this one. I'll then move to Shakiba, and then I'll get to Rodriguez and Leah as well. So Libby, can I start with you?
Sure. I'll make 2 points. One about how it's helped me professionally and how it's helped me personally. So professionally, just because we're in a law school, you're trying to get jobs. Through the IU network I gave me the ability to get my first job and probably my second job and hopefully my current job. I had the opportunity to get to know people here at the school who stood up for me, who vouched for me, and who were my champions in settings that I may not have gotten into otherwise. And one of the reasons that I find it so valuable to give back, and Dean, as you mentioned in your remarks, one of the things I really love to do is talk to students and spend time with them because people did that for me. And I remember very clearly sitting on the steps outside, wondering at junctures in my academic career, should I do this or should I do that? How am I ever going to get an internship? How am I ever going to get a job? What is my job going to look like? Am I going to be happy? Am I going to have an impact? And at every step, I turn to alumni from the school. And that's people that I still am in touch with. I had breakfast with one this morning. I will have dinner with one tonight. And I've turned to professors at this school, still do, even last week, for advice. And it does really take a village. And I didn't know anything going into law school, and I don't know much now. But I do know that if you surround yourself with people that want to help you, you can be really successful in having a career of impact. And I can name dozens of people that were part of that journey, but the biggest thing for me, and the reason that I like to serve and how service fits into my practice and my professional and personal life, is that one-on-one experience, getting to know people and really just seeking their advice. And so I urge you to do that. Your professors are incredible here. I can't even tell you how incredible they are if you don't get to know them. Please go to office hours. It's just the biggest gift. If you were going to go see one of your professors in a practical world, like the law firm that I'm in, it'd be thousands of dollars to have a 2-hour conversation with someone of their caliber, and you can go in for free, already paying for it, and talk about your questions about life, about your practice, about what you're reading, what you should be doing in the world. It's an incredible gift. And these professors, unlike so many schools at this caliber, these professors actually want to know you, and they actually want to help, and they still want to help. How many ever years later I'm out of school? So my first point is just please get to know those people and take the opportunity of mentorship. And then the second point, just personally, and you spoke to this about your husband and your classmates. Your classmates here really also are inspiring individuals. And one of the additional reasons that I fit service in my practice today is maintaining that relationship. And we'll talk more about networking as this goes on, but the people that you meet at this school are incredible. And they inspire me to do better things. And so I can name, people in my own class or classes below or above me that are doing great things. And we just want to do good things together in the world. And you just look to your left and to your right, and they say, you're going to be practicing with these people. These are the people that they're going to be at your wedding, perhaps, and well beyond will be your network going into your professional and personal lives. So I hope that gives you some insight into why it matters a lot to just get to know each other and spend the time asking for advice and using the relationships you have to advance service for your community. Thanks.
Thank you. Libby, Sakina, can I get you into the conversation? How has service been an important part of your professional career? How has it helped you advance your professional goals while getting back to school or your local community?
Well, I think I mentioned a few moments ago that most of the time I feel like that I'm not doing enough, or that I haven't done enough to give back, because it's so easy to get caught up in your own day-to-day life, professionally and personally, depending on where you are in your career, and whether or not, for instance, I'm a solo practitioner. So it's really easy to get caught up and you can feel like you're not doing enough. However, the things that I have done, I was speaking to a fellow alum, Chantre Irving, the other night, and I was telling him about this award, and I said, wow, I'm humbled. And he reminded me that some of the things I'm being recognized for, I did just because. So when you think about service, sometimes it doesn't have to be this huge production. It can be you being genuine and giving of yourself. You can mentor students in simple ways, and you forget about these things. There have been things I've been reminded of at, for instance, the orientation that we hold for Boston and Law students. Students have reminded me that they stayed at my house to study for the bar, and I didn't even remember. So there are different ways that you can serve not only your general community, but the law school community as well, because again, those are things I hadn't thought of. So when you think of service, again, it doesn't have to be a huge production. And when you're genuine in what you do, people see that and it presents opportunities for you. So that's how service can in turn help you professionally. I'm positive that had it not been for my coming back to the law school, being engaged with students, taking phone calls, responding to emails, that I wouldn't have the opportunity to be an adjunct faculty, that I wouldn't have the opportunity to get this award. So just know that when you're genuine in what you do, people are looking at you and it will help you in some form or fashion that you even unexpect in your career.
I want to get other people into the conversation, but we got a lot of questions from students about why did you decide to start your own law firm? And I know that could take a long time. But, maybe you could just briefly talk about sort of kind of the highs of that and what made you go into starting your own practice.
Okay, I was not expecting that. But okay, so to answer that question, why did I start my own practice? At this point, I can be open about it because it's been years ago. I was in-house counsel for a nonprofit organization, a managed care company, and truth be told, I did not have a good working relationship with my former supervisor. So we spent 2.5 years trying to get along, but I felt like we weren't getting along. And things finally came to a head and we had to part ways. And at that time, I had been looking for a new opportunity for the 2.5 years at the new GC, since the new GC had come in. And I had been interviewing and getting a few interview opportunities, but nothing seemed to work out. So when I left the company in September of 2012, I took a decompression break. And by January, February, I was like, okay, wait a minute. I'm still waiting on these people to call me back. And I decided at that time to streamline all of my finances, because at that time it was 2013. You just never know what's going to happen. So honestly, here's the truth. I started my firm because I needed to refinance my house. And I only did it on paper. I only did it on paper. I only created the company on paper so that I could refinance my house. However, once I sat down with a pen and paper and mapped out what I wanted it to look like, within 2 weeks of saying, I'm going to start my firm to refinance my house, within 2 weeks, honestly, I had an office. And I told myself that I went downtown and got an office. And I told myself that I would rent it for the first 3 months. So I paid high rent the first 3 months. If I didn't get one client within 3 months, I would go back to my job search. And so in that 2-week period, I met with my mentor. Who was a healthcare attorney. I told her what my thoughts were. She knew that I had one foot in, one foot out, but she told me, okay, this is a good plan. You at least have the skill sets and you have the plan to use your 2 previous positions as associate general counsel and an assistant attorney general and use that as a solo practitioner. So I pulled from my skill sets, decided that I was going to make a firm, but then I took the leap. And so that's the honest story. Only a few people actually know that I started my firm out of necessity for something that wasn't even foreseen as, I think now 8 years later, in solo practice.
And now a couple of thousand people on the webinar and every one of them, but that's great. That's a great story. You had so much success, so that's great to hear. Leah and Judge Rodriguez, do you want to chime in there about the question about how you married service? Leah, and then I'll go, or Judge, either one. How have you married the two together?
Yeah, so I think I'd start with just the observation that lawyers are busy. And so I think the key to integrating service into your professional and personal life is not to think about it as non-billable time, but really that as part of becoming a whole professional. I mean, I can't think of any activity that gives you sort of more bang for your buck in terms of developing really essential skills that you need to be a lawyer. Serving on a board of directors, you're building consensus, you're becoming a better decision maker, you're thinking critically about employment issues, getting familiar with financial statements. By mentoring students, you're practicing self-reflection, which is really important. Other volunteer opportunities, you're getting perspective and developing compassion, which is also really key to client relationships. So, and by doing all those things, as I think Libby alluded to, you're developing a network of good people around you that care about the community as well. So I think you benefit tremendously from service. And so to think about it as that, as opposed to, just additional time that you might not feel like you have a ton of. If I could just share sort of a personal recent example, the career change that I made just in January was wholly because of my opportunities to be of service in different organizations. So I was fortunate, my firm was very supportive of serving on boards and encouraged me to do that and put some financial contributions behind that to make that possible. But what I was learning was that I was enjoying my meetings after work, figuring out how can we keep delivering our mission in light of the pandemic when we can't gather in person. How are we going to navigate leadership transition? I was having more fun and more jazz about those conversations than some of my client interactions. And because of those involvements, because I was raising my hand to be a part of those conversations, even though I didn't know anybody personally at Lilly Endowment, my name rose up and was lifted up from those experiences within the community. So now I get to wake up every day and think, how can we support efforts to make the quality of life in Indianapolis, make it a more vibrant place where you want your family and your business to be located. We get to work on that. And so I feel very fortunate for that. And it really was because of having, of course, this skill set, but being committed to the community.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Libby for getting me into trouble when she mentioned her husband, because I did not mention my wife. So therefore, honey, thank you very much for all your support. Now, a quick note as far as I agree with my colleagues. Basically, we have the same trajectory, but one way you can give back right away is by joining your local bar association. And the bar associations have a lot of programs that help the community, either be giving free legal advice or otherwise. As a matter of fact, that's how I got to do my first book pro bono, and I didn't even know it was pro bono back in 1980. I'm the old guy up here. Okay, I just want to show you see that. Therefore, I joined the bar association, and a year out of law school, I was representing Haitian individuals that had come over in rafts and boats in 1980 because in the immigration process. So right off the bat, I started to do that. I have my job. This was pro bono. I just didn't realize it was pro bono until later in my life. This is something I wanted to do. So think about that. Pro bono bar associations. You get back right away.
Since we've got a whole bunch of questions about networking, so maybe I'll stick with you on this next one.
Networking, I would not be here if it were for networking.
Well, so I'd love for you to talk about sort of how that's played in your career. And then we also got a number of questions. So I'm going to ask everybody else to join in networking. But we also had a number of questions for students about, did you find it difficult to break into the Florida market, having come to IU and Midwest school? So I'd love for you to talk about those two things together.
Absolutely not. That's a myth. And usually the hometown law firms tell you that you got to go to law school, in the vicinity or in the state that you're going to practice, because it's very difficult to be hired. It's not necessarily true. Actually, it's actually a myth. I did not have a hard time breaking in. I was hired right away by a sole practitioner, and a year later, I left him and I opened my own firm. So I hung my shingle up almost immediately, and not because I'm not big for material. That doesn't mean many of you are. Everybody strives for that big firm. I'm a bit more independent. So the lucky thing about that is the sole practitioner was retiring. So I took, he hired me to do a newly acquired area of law that he didn't know anything about. And it was insurance work. I represented State Farm for almost 14 years. And so I took State Farm with me and other insurance companies. So it can be done. Now it's a little more difficult to be done. I congratulate Shakiba that she was able to do that, because it's not easy anymore to do what I did. But networking, so when I break into my own firm, and she'll probably say it's true, you have to get clients. So how do you get clients? How do you get a client? You can't, now you can advertise. Back in my day, you could not advertise.
Mhm.
Therefore, most clients are from referrals. How do you get referrals? You network with other lawyers. You go to the bar associations. You go to cocktail receptions. You do pro bono work,
Mhm.
and lawyers get to know you, and they refer you clients. That's the name of the game, referrals.
Mhm.
You may have to give some money to them, but that's beside the point.
Mhm.
But it's a good way to do it. So networking in your profession is essential. If you sit in your office, you're not gonna be practicing for long. You're gonna be just sitting there doing nothing.
Mhm.
Use you have a different tool than I had. You got all this social media stuff. So network through your social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on any other social media platform. Somebody will kill me, and so they'll follow me and shoot me. So I don't put myself out there. But you can do LinkedIn and post stuff that you do on LinkedIn. And reach out to other members of the bar on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So that's all networking. I did it the old-fashioned way. I shook the hand. Okay, I gave the hug, and I moved forward. That is essential. Not only is it was essential for my practice, and I did pretty well by myself. I had 3 secretaries, and for one person, that's a lot. And so I did okay. I did get on the bench. But even to get on the bench, even to become a judge, you need to work. If they don't know you, you're not going to get appointed. I got appointed by 2 governors. How do you think I got there? By sitting in my office and hoping that somebody will see me and pick me up and take me by the hand and put me on the bench? No, you have to work for it. Therefore, networking is essential to your practice of law. Some individuals do not like to work. Force yourself. I'm an introvert. You now believe that, and most people don't believe that, but I'm an introvert. But I learned to be an extrovert. Why? Because I wanted to be successful. And I've been giving back all my life, and I've been in public service for 28 years, both as a judge and as a professor. And I teach at State University, so that's public service as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, maybe I could go back to you now about networking, but there was also a number of questions, quite a few questions about clerking, and if you had advice for students as they're thinking about clerking, given your experience on the Indiana Supreme Court. So could you marry those two in talking about the importance of networking through your career, and then any advice you might have for one else that are thinking about maybe clerking for a judge after graduation?
Yeah. First of all, if you are thinking about clerking, do it. It's the most amazing experience. I remember a moment when my co-clerk, my judge, and I were sort of talking about the policy implications of a particular decision. And he just stopped and he said, "We get paid to sit around and talk about this stuff." I mean, it was the coolest experience, right? That a year out of law school and you're really weighing these really important things for the state. Not to mention the incredible mentor that I have in him and the networking opportunities that that job brought along with it. So big fan of clerking, and there's lots of opportunities to do so, especially coming from this school. A couple other thoughts about networking. One would be, I would challenge you to think about how you think about doing it. So, anecdotally, I'm not sure how many jobs have been secured or clients won at a cocktail party while sipping a beverage. I really like to think about networking more as, and Professor Henderson, I don't know if he still does this, had a great workshop that he ran here called the Relationship Building Workshop. If he still does it, do it. If he doesn't, tell him to do it again, because it was really great. But it really helps you think about networking as really developing meaningful, sincere, genuine connections with people in a way that you weren't looking for some immediate advancement, but really getting to know someone in a much deeper level on a longer term. And that's not to say you shouldn't want someone's company to be your client and aim for that and be strategic about that, but it really does mean, getting to know a person and the mutual benefit that can come from that. And then the second thing I challenge you to think about is the who of networking. So it doesn't necessarily mean finding the sort of most successful person in the room and making sure that you shake their hand. Libby mentioned this. You are sitting next to incredible people that will go on and do some really remarkable things. And they're not going to wait 2 decades to do it. They're going to start doing it. I mean, you're already impressive people, but you're going to start doing it as soon as you cross that stage. I just a couple of months ago was in DC for a wedding for a friend from law school, and 2 of our classmates that were there, they're on opposite sides of the V for, you know, one's an AUSA and the other is with a small defense firm. And they're on opposite sides of one of the insurrectionists from the January 6th attack. I'm sure Rami would probably describe his client differently than an insurrectionist, but I don't have the same constraints. But I mean, how important is that work that they're doing just a few years out of law school in our nation's capital? Example even more recent from graduation. So just on my 2nd month in private practice at Barnes and Thornburg, I got an email from a classmate and friend who was at a firm in New York. It was just a forward that was, you know, anybody know a litigator in Indiana? And he's like, you know, could you get credit for this at your law firm? Eager me, I'm like, really, can I get credit? I can do this. The contract dispute, I got this. So ended up being my first client and my first of a lot of things. I mean, the first mediation that I got to lead. Then and there, folks, we litigated the settlement agreement. So it got to be my first summary judgment motion that I argued. We took it to the Court of Appeals, ended up going to the state Supreme Court. So it ended up being several years of learnings for me, both skill-wise, but also, you know, in terms of being a billing attorney and managing that relationship and other leadership opportunities that opened up in my firm. That was just from being a good classmate and a good friend for 3 years in this building. So don't overlook that. It's a huge resource and opportunity that you have.
Shakiba or Libby, did you want to add in on any thoughts about network?
Very briefly, I would just like to state that understand that networking is not just about who you know, but who knows you. I think that my fellow panelists have hit on this, but understand it is more about who knows you. So it's more than a name dropping game. I think that some people get caught up into this, let's go to cocktail hour, let's go to happy hour, even let's do a few lunches. So you do a lunch with Judge Rodriguez, you do a lunch with me, Libby Bainey or Leah Siegel, and you just start dropping these names. That's not necessarily networking. Understand that in your meeting people, you need to be imparting something about yourself that they can remember about you, so that when certain opportunities arise, whether it be service opportunities or career opportunities, that you're the person or one of the people that comes to mind. So just know that it's more than name dropping. I know a lot of people get caught up into that. It's more than name dropping. It's about getting to know people and letting them get to know you and what value you can add to a service or project.
I'd love to just build on that and also what Leah said. Being a problem solver is a key to networking. So it's not about you. It's about how you can help other people. And that's coming from a person working at a big firm. It's not about getting a client or billing hours. It's about how can I help solve their problem? And so I don't think about it as sales, not selling myself to anybody. You know, Leah, you have a great problem. Let me solve it for you. Is very different than I'd really like to work for the Lilly Endowment. Tell me how. Right? That's not going to help anybody. And I think that's true in the relationships. And I think Shakiba's right on. It's meeting people and thinking about what do they really need? How can I help them? Okay, I had a great coffee with her. She's in healthcare compliance. I know some things about healthcare compliance. I saw this great article. Maybe she didn't read this article. I'll forward it to her. Right. And just follow up. I heard you mention, artificial intelligence in your practice and how that's, interesting in healthcare compliance these days. I saw this article in the Atlantic, made me think of you. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Just simple little things about being human and thinking about what they might need is very easy. And builds these really authentic relationships. And I'll give 2 examples of that. One is when I also started my own firm at one point. So we have a serial entrepreneurship issue going on at this school. And I've been at Fakery Drinker now many mergers, but that's our current name. And I started at Baker & Daniels. And at some point in this process, I decided to start my own firm and a nonprofit. And the reason that I was able to do that is primarily because I knew I could leave the school, start a business, and hire people from our. And I remember calling the school and just saying, I need 3 people. I'm starting a company tomorrow. And what? And I interviewed people. I had met the woman that was the president of the student association here through the Alumni Network. And I remembered her. She was clerking for a bankruptcy judge in Atlanta. Had nothing to do with what I was doing. I'm doing digital health law and policy. And I remember being impressed by her, as I'm impressed by my colleagues here. And I said, you can't like being a bankruptcy judge. And she's like, no, I think it was very positive. I think it's a great fit. It might not fill my cup. And I was like, it doesn't fill your cup. Move to DC and work with me. And she did. And she's been, she worked with me for a number of years. We hired a couple other people from IU that the school helped me refer and find. We started a 401k and a nonprofit, and then another nonprofit, and then another company, and had a bunch of clients. And it was a really fun couple of years. And ultimately, I decided to merge my practice back into the firm for a whole bunch of reasons. One was they had a lot of senior people that I couldn't afford to hire. And I wanted to continue to learn, and working around exceptional colleagues at my firm was exciting to me. So I brought it all back. And at that time, all my IU employees decided to go do great things. Some of them came with me, some of them went to other places. They're all clients in some way, shape, or form, or currently working with me. One is still running something really awesome in DC. One's now a client, worked for general counsel and associate general counsel at Amazon, like really neat places that they went, but we all still work together because we liked each other. We were authentic about it. We wanted to solve world problems together, and we really respected each other's educational experience. So that's one. The other one, just on the client service, I think you have to not be afraid to put yourself out there. To Judge's point, even if you're an introvert, just ask. You don't have to go to a big cocktail reception or host a big event or even teach a class to get to know people. The associate general counsel of Eli Lilly was my first client call. I was terrified. I'm a baby lawyer. It's the senior partner. I'm the cheapest person in the DC office. Somehow the call comes to me. Don't ask me why. And I'm on the phone with this, very famous person at our firm that clerked for the US Supreme Court. Oh my gosh, right? I'm like 2 months into the job. Why am I on this call? And the client asked a really interesting question about why did Congress pass this law and not do this other thing? Long story short, he gets on his people in DC on the phone. I'm the babiest of the lawyers. And it turns out we just hit it off on the phone. I was like, you're down the street. Why are we not meeting in person? I would love to just get a cup of coffee and follow up on this conversation. And I asked my partner, am I allowed to do this? Right. And he's like, yeah, you can get coffee if you want to get coffee. So, 2 weeks later, we get coffee. We leave that lunch. She was more senior than I, but we really enjoyed each other's company, and we never would have met if we weren't in person. We leave that lunch. We had this great idea for starting a nonprofit together that served the client's question. And we did that. And I've been running that nonprofit for 12 years. And it took a lot of work. We came back to the firm, and my partner was like, you went to a lunch and now you're going to start something with Eli Lilly. Right. Like we've never done that before. So that's but they really supported me, built a team. We obviously worked with the client for a number of years to do some really interesting work. But that never would have happened if the partner that I worked for at Vagary didn't say, yeah, you go and have a coffee. That's a great idea. So the internal support's critical, and just asking questions. I'd love to follow up on that. Can we get a cup of coffee? You never know where it's going to go.
Question I know everybody's wanting to know is, did you refinance your house?
I did, and had a baby in there too.
I'm going to take a bunch of questions that might be kind of under, you've been doing lots of this under this sort of the advice umbrella, and then sort of under how law school experiences, whether it's law journal, moot court, student organizations, questions sort of focus on different things, helped you with your career. So it's two-part. You could do it all over again, and you were starting off from scratch. What advice would you give to one of the students? Are there things that you look back and say, "Ooh, I shouldn't have done that"? And then what role? What role did your law school experiences in moot court, journals, law reviews, or student organization work, or work with clinics, a whole bunch of different questions along those lines? How did they help you as you started your career? And Judge, maybe I go with you, and then I'll go down.
It's actually going to be a very short answer. There were no clinics. Let's start with that. I'm not even sure there was a moot court. There was a law journal when I was here. So I have different experiences than my colleagues do. But honestly, I would not do anything different. I didn't do anything that I regret to this day. I did what I had to do. And as a matter of fact, I did it even faster because I went through IU, and it wasn't more at that point. It was IU School of Law. And I did law school in 27 months. I didn't take any semesters off. I went straight through.
No pressure, guys. No pressure.
Yeah, right.
Straight through. So now maybe it cannot be done. It was done, and there was an accelerated program here. So therefore, I was married my 5 years. I need to get out and get a job. I need to support my family. So I was in a different circumstance, and I would not do it any different. If I could have done it in 24 months, I would have done it in 24 months. And I did okay. I mean, I think I did pretty well, in my opinion. So what advice do I give you? Stay focused. And I know the deans, I don't want to tell you this, but I will tell you anyway. And others.
That's all the time we have for this.
You're not supposed to know what you want to do right now. You just got in here. You just came in the door. Now, your peers are going to put the pressure on you. The second and third years are going to put the pressure on you. The public's going to put the pressure on your friends out there. What do you want to do when you grow up? The answer is, the right answer right now for you is, I don't know. Because everything's out there for your picking. And that's why you have externships. That's why you have clinics. That's why you have law clerking. It's for you to realize maybe what you want to do when you're your third year of law school. Or second year to going to the third year when you're going to actually offer jobs. So don't be afraid. That's the right answer. The right answer is, I don't know. I'm feeling my way, and I'm trying to look which direction I'm going to go, and I'm going to wait until I have those experiences. That's why that's so important. Don't get pressure. Don't get peer pressure. I know that it's going to happen. I didn't get peer pressure. You know why? Because nobody ever asked me that question. As a matter of fact, nobody ever asked any of my friends or my colleagues in law school that question when we were in law school. Nobody was asking that question. So, but now they've been asking that question. I've been involved with lawsuits for a long time. So that question is being asked, and there's reasons for that question being asked by both the law school and your peers and lawyers and et cetera, your friends. Fight it. Say, I don't know. Now, you have to be in that moment. Sometimes, but I don't know. They're not going to take that well, especially if they're future employers. So, be smart as well. And depending on who asks the question, whether you want to answer or lie to them or not. So that's my advice to you. You just got here. My advice to you is focus, study. Grades are important. They are important. Don't let anybody tell you they're not important, but they're not the end of everything.
Good. I agree with that. So actually, the whole point of this course, right, is for you to hopefully get a little taste of some of the things, to be able to expand your view, the options you may have. And by meeting with alumni and hearing their stories, hopefully it sort of gives you sort of a sense of where you might want to dip your toes. The key, I think, as the judge says, is not that you need to know exactly what you're doing, but you're involved and engaged in the game, right? So it means that you're going to career services when they have programs. It means that you're meeting with your advisors, but it's not requiring you to make the decision right now. I think that's right. Libby, did you have things to add in on?
I'll have two themes. So introspection and advice. So introspection. I remember having the opportunity to serve on the journal, and everybody says, do you have to do journal? Oh, it's journal. And I thought about it I went on a lot of walks around Bryant Park, and I thought about it a lot. I was like, it's just not me. Like, what is my highest and best use for this time? And the advice, going back to the advice part, was I called alumni or student services and said, I need to talk to people that are doing things that I think I want to do, and ask them, is journal critical to my future? Because if it is, I should do it even if I hate it. Because it sounded like antithetical to how I wanted to spend my time. I want to like create things. I really wanted to start and I ultimately did start the Health Law Society here because I really care about health law. And I was really interested in health law and policy. And this was all pre-Obamacare, and it was all Hillary Care light, and these conversations about what are we going to do about healthcare. And I was fascinated by that. And so I thought I could either do this thing that I'm supposed to do, that everybody says is a real big honor and is supposed to set you up to be a clerk and do all these great things, or I could start this thing that never has been started before and it doesn't make any sense and no one knows what it is. And I got a lot of advice. So introspection, what do I really think is my highest and best use in this time? And advice, am I going to screw myself by not doing journal? I'm never going to get a job and everybody's going to look at me. And so ultimately I decided to do obviously the latter thing, and turned out to be the right thing. And I had to have an explanation. I had a lot of, again, introspection on how am I going to explain this to employers? How am I explaining this? I'm going to try to apply to clerkships. What is the narrative? What does it say about me that I want to start the Health Law Society and not do this thing? So follow your path and really listen to yourself. And to the judge's point on that, follow your path. I also was convinced I was never going to a law firm. I'm the big law person here. That's weird. I was never going to go to a law firm. I told the Dean Robel that the second day. She's like, oh, you get to do all these things. You're doing well in the school. You need to apply to these big law firms. Nope. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm going into public service. I want to work in academics. I want to do all these other things. And she said, just interview, don't, and as Ted Lasso would say, be curious, not judgmental. And I thought, okay, fine. I'll meet some people at those big firms and see how miserable their lives are. And then I'll go back to do what I'm supposed to do in my life. And turns out I love them. They're great humans. I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. And it was just that constant curiosity. I love to learn and am inspired by people that are smarter than me. And turns out law firms have a lot of those people and a lot of those opportunities. So it turned out to be a great thing. So introspection and advice, seeking that advice at many turns. I got my first job from a professor here because I went to office hours. I got to know him well before I wanted the job. I didn't even know I was going to get the job. It was a torts professor. I was terrified. The second week I went to him and said, why do you keep calling on people? You made people cry. This is very scary. What is the intent of this line of questioning? I had professor to work in, and he said, I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think you knew. And I was stopped cold. And he's like, if I stopped calling on you, you should be afraid. And it's like, oh, he was like, keep trying. It's like, okay. And I remember, okay. And the second week of law school, okay. And every day that semester, I was terrified he was going to call me and I wouldn't know and he'd stop. And I also didn't want to call me because I might not know and he'd keep going. And either way, it was scary. And it was awesome. And I spent once a week, I would go to his office and just say, this is what I'm swimming upside down and backwards. I feel like I'm drowning. I don't know. And it turns out, at the end of the semester, I had met somebody, again, networking, in a hotel elevator. You never know who you're going to meet, who turned out to be the general counsel of a major corporation who had some interesting healthcare litigation issues that I've been following in the news. Long story short, I applied to her and to her job well before I got my grades back, because I thought if I failed this class, I need her to know that I'm still ambitious and I will maybe try to get this job. And she said, send me your grades. And so I went to Professor Dworkin and said, could you please be a reference for me? And he said, come back in 3 weeks after I grade your exam. Oh God. Okay. So I come back and he emails me and says, Miss Lewis at the time, please come in. I want to discuss your exam. Oh, that's terrifying. And he says, you did exceptionally well in my class. Why are you applying to this company? And I explained how I met this woman in the elevator. And he said, well, my brother is the general counsel of that company. It's a major pharmaceutical company. And I said, really? I had no idea. And he said, yeah, I'll call him. And he calls him right then in his office on the 3rd floor and says, you should hire this person. Okay, you have a job. That was it. I mean, you can't make that up. And you just don't know. So, but he knew me and he knew my diligence. And I was in there every week asking him questions, trying to understand. And he could vouch for me. And would he have done that if I just did really well on exam, but he had no idea who it was? Probably not. So just ask for advice and introspection, please.
We've only got 30 seconds. Both at the last word. Kiva, I'll turn to you first if you got 15 seconds for any last minute advice. Okay.
Be open to opportunities. Just know that you will have a fulfilling career. Contracts and administrative law were my worst grades in law school. I've built my career in contracts and administrative law, representing clients and agencies. And I'm also a hearing examiner. So To have gotten my actual worst grade in law school, I think it was a C+ in administrative law, Professor Craig, 6-week course. I'm now a hearing examiner, and hopefully that will transition into an administrative law judge at some point. So just know that even if you're not the A-star student, you're not at the top of the class, you will succeed if you put forth the effort.
Great advice. Leah, last words for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said when you're hearing similar advice from 4 different sources. So I just want to leave you with this sort of empowering piece that, you know, the education that you get here isn't just going to set you up to draft contracts or to research and prepare motions. But there's a really, really wide world out there of opportunities that you certainly don't know exist yet, and I'm still learning of more. So want you to know that this idea that you can take complex concepts and distill them down to their essential elements, and you can assess risk, and you can manage expectations. All of these things really set you up for a wide variety of things. So never wake up and feel like, is this it? Because there's always something more. Your skills are so relevant and transferable. So walk away with that.
Great. I've got 3 quick things that I need to cover, and then we'll conclude. So first, what you don't realize, or maybe you don't, is that we've got an army of alumni board that met this morning. These are dedicated alumni, and they're all online. And they come back every year, not this year, but they come back every year to the school, and they're part of the core group that helps us in so many different ways around the country. So maybe we can have a round of applause for those that are online. Speaking to those that are online on the alumni board, I wanted to remind you that the student networking session is going to begin at 1:15, and you need to connect to the Zoom link on that link. So those that joined remotely, the ceremony is officially over, with congratulations again to our four award recipients. That's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2. So I hope I get this right. So we are now moving into the lunch and networking session. We've set up 2 lunch stations in 2 rooms. What this means is that everybody from the middle of the room to the left, you're going to go out the left door in your back, facing the back. So that door, and you're going to get your lunch from room 120. So from the middle to the left, you're going to room 120. Yeah, you guys are in the middle, I don't know what you're doing. We're gonna have to make a decision. Those who are on the middle to the right, you're gonna go out the back right door, and you're gonna go to room 124. So right to 124, left to room 120. And then you're going to do your networking session. Once you have your lunch, for those participating in the networking session in person, report to your designated room. You should have these, so if you need help, we have several staff members around. I'm supposed to ask staff to raise their hands. They can help you. I think everybody's in the back there. So people right here can help you, guide you. So right here or in the back. For those participating via Zoom, please find yourself in socially distanced space to connect virtually to your assigned alum at the link that's been provided to you. The networking session will last from 1:15 until 2 p.m. Does that make sense of what we're doing next? Lastly, I just want to say congratulations. I'm hearing great things from the faculty who think this is a fabulous class. And I hope you've enjoyed the first couple of minutes or first month. I know it's a ton of work. I'm hoping you have a wonderful week next week and are able to catch your breath a little bit. Thanks for joining us. We can have one more round of applause for all. Thank you so much.
Okay, Libby, I'm sorry.